The way you start your morning is the way you live your day. Most people don't realize this. They think the morning is just something to get through. They wake up and immediately react. They react to notifications. They react to memories. They react to stress. They react to yesterday's problems like they never ended. And without knowing it, they hand their entire day over to the world. Before they even stand up, they've already lost control. But the Stoic doesn't begin the day like that. A Stoic doesn't wake up begging life to be easy. A Stoic doesn't wake up hoping people will behave. A Stoic doesn't wake up waiting for motivation to arrive. Because a Stoic understands one brutal truth. If you don't choose the tone of your day, the world will choose it for you, and the world will choose anxiety. The world will choose distraction. The world will choose comparison. The world will choose pressure. But you have another option, not because you're special, not because you're lucky, but because you're disciplined enough to practice what others ignore. This is why Stoicism is powerful, not as a philosophy you admire, but as a routine you live. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his thoughts in a palace for entertainment. He wrote them as a morning weapon, a way to prepare his mind before life tested him. Because Stoics understood this, the day doesn't defeat you out there. It defeats you in here first, in your thoughts, in your reactions, in your habits. So today, we're going to talk about something simple, but life-changing. 11 morning habits that set the tone for your entire day. Not motivation, not hype, habits. And each one is Stoic, meaning it gives you control, it gives you calm, it gives you strength. If you've been waking up heavy, if your mornings feel rushed, if your mind feels noisy before you even brush your teeth, this is your moment to shift. Before we dive into principle number 1, do me one small favor. Like this video if it already resonates. Comment your thoughts and affirmations as we go. Share this with someone who needs a stronger morning, and subscribe for more Stoic growth content. And I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My morning is my foundation. Now let's begin. Habit number 1. Begin the day by separating what is within your control from what is not. Each morning before the noise of the world reaches us, there is a quiet moment that decides the quality of our entire day. This moment is not shaped by what happens outside, but by what we choose to take ownership of within. We wake not into control, but into choice. And the first, most decisive choice is this: to recognize what belongs to us and what never will. Without this distinction, the day owns us. With it, we begin to own ourselves. The mind, left unattended in the early hours, drifts toward fear, anticipation, resentment, and unfinished battles from yesterday. We replay conversations. We imagine threats. We worry about outcomes still unborn. But the disciplined morning mind does something different. It pauses and draws a firm boundary. Thoughts, judgments, intentions, these are ours. Other people's opinions, the weather of events, the unpredictability of life, these are not. This single act of clarity prevents countless emotional collapses later in the day. One ancient teacher spoke with brutal simplicity. Some things are up to us and some things are not. This is not philosophy meant for comfort. It is meant for strength. It strips us of illusions. It removes the false belief that peace comes from controlling life. Instead, it shows us that peace comes from governing the self. Each morning we rehearse this truth, not once, but again and again, until it becomes instinct rather than effort. We do not deny difficulty. We do not pretend the day will be gentle, but we refuse to place our emotional well-being in the hands of chance. By morning light, we decide that no insult, delay, loss, or inconvenience will have the authority to command our inner world. This decision does not make us passive. It makes us precise. Our energy is no longer wasted resisting reality. It is focused where it can actually produce virtue. When anger rises later in the day, it is already weakened by this morning practice. When anxiety whispers its warnings, it finds no fertile ground. We have already agreed before the day began that externals are visitors, not rulers. This is how emotional discipline is built, not in the heat of the moment, but in the quiet preparation before the battle begins. Morning is where resilience is forged. Another ancient voice reminds us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Morning reflection cuts imagination down to size. It reminds us that most of what disturbs us has not yet happened, and much of it never will. By refusing to grant imagined futures emotional power, we reclaim our presence. We stand where we are, not where fear wants to drag us. This habit reshapes how we move through the world. We become slower to react and quicker to reflect. We stop demanding that life obey our preferences. Instead, we demand that our responses obey our principles. This is not weakness, it is authority of the highest kind, the authority over one's own judgments. Each morning, we renew this authority deliberately, before anyone has the chance to challenge it. There is a quiet confidence that grows from this practice. We no longer wake hoping for a good day. We wake prepared for any day. Success does not inflate us. Setbacks do not crush us. Praise does not intoxicate us. Blame does not wound us. Because from the first moments of consciousness, we remembered who is in charge, and it is not the world. This separation of control also restores moral clarity. When we stop blaming circumstances for our emotions, responsibility returns to us. And with responsibility comes power. We are no longer victims of mood or impulse. We become craftsmen of character. Morning by morning, this habit sharpens the will and steadies the mind, turning chaos into material for growth. So we begin the day not with motivation, but with mastery, not with noise, but with order. We step forward knowing that whatever arrives, challenge or calm, we will meet it as disciplined stewards of our inner world. This is the foundation upon which every other habit rests. Without it, the day controls us. With it, the day becomes a proving ground for virtue. Habit number 2, rise without complaint and accept the day before it begins. The moment we wake, a quiet struggle unfolds. The body resists movement. The mind searches for excuses. Fatigue whispers that rest is owed, that delay is harmless, that comfort should come first. This is the first test of the day, and it arrives before our feet touch the ground. How we answer it sets the tone for everything that follows. To rise without complaint is not about denying tiredness. It is about refusing to surrender authority to it. Complaining in the morning seems small, almost harmless. A sigh, a groan, a silent resentment toward the coming hours. Yet this inner protest plants a seed of resistance that spreads throughout the day. When we begin by resenting existence, every demand feels heavier, every obstacle more offensive. Acceptance, practiced at dawn, cuts this chain before it forms. We do not ask the day to be easy. We accept that it will simply be what it is. An old emperor once reminded himself each morning that he would encounter interference, ingratitude, arrogance, and selfishness, and that none of these should surprise or disturb him. This was not pessimism, it was preparation. By anticipating difficulty, we remove its power to shock us. When the mind has already accepted friction as part of life, frustration loses its sharp edge. To accept the day does not mean to approve of everything that happens. It means we do not argue with reality. We do not waste precious inner strength wishing circumstances were different. Resistance drains us before the work even begins. Acceptance, on the other hand, conserves energy and sharpens focus. It allows us to meet events with clarity instead of resentment. Rising without complaint is an act of inner rebellion against weakness. It says, "I will not allow my mood to dictate my conduct." The body may feel heavy, but the will remains upright. This is how self-mastery grows, not through dramatic acts, but through quiet refusals to indulge in self-pity. Each morning we practice standing firm, even when no one is watching. Another ancient voice warned that we often add suffering to necessity. We must wake, we must act. These are unavoidable facts. But our inner resistance, our complaints, our reluctance, our mental bargaining, this is optional. Morning acceptance removes the unnecessary layer of suffering we place upon ourselves. What remains is effort, clean and undramatic. When we accept the day early, we stop personalizing inconvenience. Delays are no longer insults. Challenges are no longer unfair attacks. They are simply conditions to be worked with. This shift changes everything. Emotional storms calm not because life improves, but because our relationship with life matures. We no longer expect comfort as a birthright. There is dignity in beginning the day this way, a quiet dignity that does not announce itself. We move with steadiness because we are no longer negotiating with reality at every step. We have already agreed to meet it on its own terms. This agreement frees the mind and strengthens resolve. It is the posture of someone who knows their role and accepts it fully. Over time, this habit builds an unshakable inner posture. Even when the day unfolds harshly, there is less inner collapse. We do not waste hours resenting what cannot be changed. Instead, we ask a better question. What is required of me now? This question leads not to comfort but to virtue, and virtue practiced daily becomes a form of freedom. So we rise. Not cheerfully, not reluctantly, simply firmly. We accept the day before it has the chance to challenge us, and in doing so, we deny circumstances the power to dictate our spirit. This habit trains us to meet life head-on, without illusion and without complaint. Ready to act, ready to endure, ready to remain master of ourselves. Habit number 3, rehearse the trials of the day before they arrive. Before the day unfolds, before it presents its tests and tensions, we pause to imagine them, not with dread, but with discipline. We do not wake assuming smooth passage. We wake preparing for resistance. This is not pessimism, it is readiness. By rehearsing difficulty in advance, we remove its power to destabilize us when it finally appears. The untrained mind expects ease and is shocked by hardship. The trained mind expects friction and is strengthened by it. Each morning we quietly acknowledge that something will go wrong today. Plans may fail. People may disappoint us. Effort may go unrewarded. By naming these possibilities early, we deny them the ability to wound our pride later. An ancient voice once advised us to say at the start of each day, "I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, and selfishness." This was not a curse upon the day, it was armor. When difficulty arrives after being anticipated, it feels lighter, almost familiar. Surprise is often what turns inconvenience into suffering. This habit trains emotional resilience at its root. Anger thrives on expectation violated. Anxiety feeds on imagined catastrophe. Morning rehearsal neutralizes both. We remind ourselves that the day owes us nothing, that people are fallible, and that outcomes are uncertain. And still, we commit to acting with steadiness, restraint, and integrity, regardless. By visualizing adversity, we also rehearse our response. We imagine ourselves meeting insult without retaliation, delay without panic, and loss without collapse. This mental training is not fantasy, it is preparation. Just as the body strengthens through resistance, the mind strengthens through deliberate exposure to challenge, first in thought, then in life. Another teacher warned that we are not disturbed by events, but by our judgments about them. Morning rehearsal addresses judgment before it hardens. It reminds us that nothing arriving today has the authority to dictate our character. The event may be sharp, but our response remains under our command. This practice also humbles us. It reminds us of our own capacity to fail, to speak carelessly, to act impatiently, to fall short. We do not begin the day assuming moral superiority. We begin it alert to our weaknesses and therefore more forgiving, both toward ourselves and others. Humility practiced early prevents cruelty later. When the day's first challenge arrives, and it will, we recognize it. We say inwardly, "This is what I prepared for," and instead of reacting blindly, we respond deliberately. The gap between impulse and action widens. In that space, freedom grows. This is where emotional mastery lives, not in avoidance of difficulty, but in composure within it. Over time, this habit reshapes our relationship with fear. Fear loses its grip when it is faced daily, calmly, without drama. We stop bracing ourselves with tension and start standing with readiness. The mind becomes steady not because danger disappears, but because we are no longer untrained. So each morning we rehearse, not to burden ourselves, but to unburden the day. We meet it already fortified, already resolved, already inwardly prepared. And when trials come, as they always do, they find us standing, not surprised, not shaken, but ready to act with clarity, restraint, and strength. Habit number 4, choose silence before speaking to the world. Before we give our voice to the day, we first reclaim it for ourselves. The morning offers a rare and fragile silence, a space where the mind has not yet been invaded by demands, opinions, and noise. To rush past this silence is to surrender control before the day even begins. We pause instead. We allow stillness to settle. This is not emptiness, it is alignment. Speech is power. Once released, it cannot be recalled. Words shape perception, both ours and others. An ancient teacher warned that we should speak only when our words improve upon silence. Morning quiet trains this restraint. By beginning the day in silence, we remind ourselves that reaction is optional and expression should be deliberate. Most emotional damage is verbal. We speak too quickly, defend too loudly, and explain too much. Silence in the morning acts as a counterweight to this impulse. It strengthens the muscle of restraint. It teaches us that we do not need to comment on everything, explain ourselves to everyone, or respond immediately to provocation. In this quiet, we observe our inner dialogue. We notice impatience before it turns into speech. We notice judgment before it hardens into accusation. Awareness precedes control. Without silence, the mind moves too fast to be guided. With silence, we gain the space to choose how we will meet the world. Another ancient voice reminded us that nature gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Morning silence honors this ratio. It reminds us that listening is not passivity, but discipline. When we listen first to ourselves to reason, we speak later with clarity instead of impulse. Silence also dissolves the ego's urgency, the need to assert, to impress, and to be seen. These impulses weaken when they are not fed. Beginning the day quietly is a way of stepping outside the performance. We do not wake to prove ourselves. We wake to govern ourselves. As this habit deepens, our words change. They become fewer but sharper, calmer but firmer. We speak not to discharge emotion, but to serve truth and action. This steadiness carries through the day. Conversations become cleaner, conflicts lose their fuel, respect grows, not because we demand it, but because we embody it. Silence does not isolate us, it grounds us. It reminds us that our worth is not measured by how quickly or loudly we respond. By beginning the day without noise, we step into it with presence. Presence more than cleverness commands authority. When provocation arises later, and it will, we recognize it as an invitation, not an obligation. Morning silence has trained us to pause, to breathe, to choose. In that pause, destructive emotion finds no immediate outlet. Control returns to us. So we begin the day quietly, not withdrawn, but composed, not mute, but deliberate. We allow silence to sharpen our judgment before we speak to the world. And when we finally do, our words carry the weight of intention, restraint, and inner command. Habit number 5, remind yourself that time is being spent, not owned. Each morning before we rush into doing, we pause to remember a quiet, unsettling truth. This day is being used up, not borrowed, not stored, not saved for later, spent. The sun does not rise to offer us abundance. It rises to mark another withdrawal. When we begin the day with this awareness, urgency becomes sober rather than frantic, and purpose replaces distraction. Most people live as if time were infinite, and because of this illusion, they treat it carelessly. They wake slowly, drift aimlessly, postpone what matters, and indulge what weakens them. But when we remind ourselves in the morning that life is finite and that today is a non-renewable portion of it, our priorities sharpen. The trivial loses its appeal. The essential steps forward. One ancient thinker warned that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Morning reflection brings this warning close. We ask ourselves quietly and without drama, what will I spend myself on today? Not what will I gain, but what will I give my time, attention, and energy to? This question changes the posture of the entire day. This habit is not meant to induce fear. It is meant to induce seriousness, a calm seriousness that strips away indulgence and self-deception. When we remember that each hour is irretrievable, we stop bargaining with distraction. We stop saying later to discipline, virtue, and responsibility. Later is an illusion that weakens resolve. Destructive emotions often thrive on the assumption of endless chances. We think we can afford another outburst, another avoidance, another wasted morning. But when we remember that this day will never return, restraint gains weight. Patience becomes valuable. Self-control becomes urgent. We are less willing to give our limited time to anger, envy, or empty pleasure. Another ancient voice urged us to act as though we might leave life at any moment, letting this guide what we do, say, and think. Morning remembrance of mortality does not darken life, it clarifies it. It teaches us to speak honestly, act decisively, and live deliberately, because delay is not neutral. Delay is a form of loss. When this habit becomes part of our mornings, our pace changes. Not rushed, but intentional. We move with direction instead of drift. We no longer confuse being busy with being alive. Each action is weighed against a simple standard. Is this worthy of the time it consumes? This awareness also softens us. Knowing that time is limited, ours and others, makes cruelty feel foolish, grudges feel expensive, pettiness feels beneath us. We choose patience not out of moral vanity, but because bitterness is a poor use of a finite resource. As the day unfolds, this morning reminder continues to echo. When tempted to waste an hour, we feel its cost. When tempted to lose ourselves in anger or distraction, we recognize the theft. This is how mastery over self deepens, not through force, but through clear accounting. So we begin the day remembering that life is not something we possess. It is something that is happening moment by moment without pause. And with this knowledge, we step forward carefully, deliberately, and awake. We do not seek to fill time. We seek to honor it. Habit number 6. Commit to acting with virtue, regardless of outcome. As the day begins to take shape, we make a quiet but decisive commitment. We will measure ourselves not by results, but by conduct. Before success or failure has a chance to seduce or discourage us, we decide who we intend to be. This decision is the anchor of the morning. Without it, we drift toward whatever outcome promises comfort or applause. Most emotional instability is rooted in attachment to outcomes. We act kindly so long as it is rewarded. We remain disciplined so long as progress is visible. But when results disappoint us, resentment follows. Morning commitment to virtue breaks this pattern. We remind ourselves that our task is not to guarantee success, but to act rightly again and again, regardless of how the world responds. An ancient teacher warned that if we tie our peace to what lies outside our control, we make ourselves fragile. Outcomes are shaped by countless forces beyond us, but intention, effort, and integrity, these remain ours. By centering the day on virtue rather than reward, we reclaim stability. Even failure loses its sting when we know we acted well. This habit also dissolves a subtle form of fear, the fear of effort without recognition. We often hesitate to do what is right because we fear it will go unnoticed or unappreciated. Morning reflection exposes this fear for what it is, a desire for validation. We remind ourselves that virtue is not a performance. It is a discipline practiced in private long before it is visible in public. Another ancient voice urged us to focus not on what others think of us, but on whether our actions align with reason and nature. Morning commitment aligns our compass. We decide that honesty will not depend on convenience, that patience will not depend on comfort, and that courage will not depend on certainty. These decisions made early spare us countless inner negotiations later. When destructive emotions arise, anger at injustice, despair at failure, envy at another's success, this habit steadies us. We ask not, "Is this fair?" but "What is the virtuous response here?" This question cuts through emotional noise. It does not deny feeling, but it refuses to let feeling rule. Over time, this practice transforms the meaning of success. Success becomes alignment rather than achievement. We judge the day not by what we gained, but by whether we acted with restraint, courage, fairness, and wisdom. This shift is subtle, but profound. It relocates our sense of worth from the unstable world to the steady inner court of judgment. There is a quiet freedom in this way of living. When our goal is to act well, not to be rewarded, we become harder to manipulate and harder to discourage. Praise does not inflate us. Failure does not define us. We remain centered because our standard does not move with circumstance. Morning commitment to virtue also prepares us for sacrifice. We accept that acting rightly may cost us comfort, approval, or advantage. But we also accept that the cost of betraying our principles is higher. Regret is heavier than effort. Shame lasts longer than hardship. This clarity steels the will. So we begin the day by choosing character over consequence. We step forward resolved to act with integrity, regardless of how the day unfolds. And when the evening arrives, no matter the outcome, we retain the one victory that cannot be taken from us: the knowledge that we lived according to our highest standards. Habit number 7, guard the inner world before engaging the outer one. Before we step into the world's demands, we turn inward and secure what matters most. The morning is not merely a transition from sleep to action. It is a border. On one side lies the inner world, thought, intention, judgment. On the other lies the outer world, noise, pressure, expectation. Habit 7 is about refusing to cross that border unprepared. We do not expose the mind before it is fortified. Most people wake and immediately invite intrusion: news, messages, obligations, other people's urgency. These flood the mind before it has taken its first deliberate breath. The result is predictable: distraction, agitation, borrowed emotions. We choose differently. We recognize that the inner world, once disturbed, is difficult to restore. So we guard it first, as one would guard a city at dawn. An ancient teacher warned that if we are not careful, we will become slaves to impressions. The first impressions of the day are the most dangerous because the mind is still soft. By delaying exposure, we assert sovereignty. We remind ourselves that not everything deserves immediate attention and not every signal is a command. This habit is an act of discipline against reactivity. Anger, envy, fear, and anxiety often enter not through great tragedies but through small, unfiltered stimuli. A careless message, a troubling headline, a comparison we never needed to make. Guarding the morning mind prevents these seeds from taking root. We use this protected time to stabilize our judgments. We remind ourselves of what matters and what does not. We rehearse restraint, patience, and perspective. When the outer world finally presses in, it finds a mind already anchored. Emotional storms break against preparation instead of sweeping us away. Another ancient voice urged us to retreat into ourselves daily, even briefly, to recover clarity. Morning is the most natural moment for this retreat. It is not withdrawal from responsibility, but preparation for it. We sharpen the instrument before using it. We steady the hand before lifting the weight. This practice also restores dignity. When we rush immediately into reaction, we become servants of urgency. When we guard the inner world first, we move with intention. We choose when to engage, how to respond, and what deserves our energy. Control returns not through dominance, but through restraint. As the day unfolds, this early protection pays dividends. Insults feel less personal. Pressure feels less suffocating. Chaos feels less contagious. We have already reminded ourselves that our inner order is not dependent on external calm. This knowledge is quiet but unshakable. Over time, this habit transforms how we experience life. We stop living in constant defense mode. We stop reacting to everything that moves. The inner world becomes a place of strength rather than vulnerability. And from that strength, action becomes cleaner, calmer, and more effective. So we begin the day by standing guard. We protect the mind before exposing it. We secure the inner world before entering the outer one. And in doing so, we carry composure with us, not as a fragile state, but as a disciplined stance that no circumstance can easily overthrow. We use this protected time to stabilize our judgments. We remind ourselves of what matters and what does not. We rehearse restraint, patience, and perspective. When the outer world finally presses in, it finds a mind already anchored. Emotional storms break against preparation instead of sweeping us away. Another ancient voice urged us to retreat into ourselves daily, even briefly, to recover clarity. Morning is the most natural moment for this retreat. It is not withdrawal from responsibility, but preparation for it. We sharpen the instrument before using it. We steady the hand before lifting the weight. This practice also restores dignity. When we rush immediately into reaction, we become servants of urgency. When we guard the inner world first, we move with intention. We choose when to engage, how to respond, and what deserves our energy. Control returns not through dominance, but through restraint. As the day unfolds, this early protection pays dividends. Insults feel less personal. Pressure feels less suffocating. Chaos feels less contagious. We have already reminded ourselves that our inner order is not dependent on external calm. This knowledge is quiet but unshakable. Over time, this habit transforms how we experience life. We stop living in constant defense mode. We stop reacting to everything that moves. The inner world becomes a place of strength rather than vulnerability. And from that strength, action becomes cleaner, calmer, and more effective. So we begin the day by standing guard. We protect the mind before exposing it. We secure the inner world before entering the outer one. And in doing so, we carry composure with us, not as a fragile state, but as a disciplined stance that no circumstance can easily overthrow. Habit number 8. Prepare the mind for service, not self-indulgence. As morning gives way to movement, we remind ourselves of a truth that the undisciplined mind resists. The day is not designed to serve us. We are here to serve something higher than comfort, ego, or appetite. This reminder realigns intention. When the day is framed around service rather than self-indulgence, struggle gains meaning and effort stops feeling like punishment. Self-indulgence whispers early. It asks what we want, what we deserve, what would feel good right now. Service asks a different question. What is required of me today? This question pulls us out of self-absorption and into responsibility. It shifts the center of gravity away from emotion and toward purpose. An ancient emperor once wrote that human beings exist for one another, and that to work against this is to work against our own nature. Morning reflection on service restores this perspective. We remember that patience, fairness, and restraint are not private virtues, they are contributions. Each disciplined action strengthens not only us, but the fabric of the world we move through. Destructive emotions thrive when life is treated as a personal transaction. When we expect the world to satisfy us, disappointment becomes inevitable. Service dissolves this entitlement. We stop asking, "What am I getting?" and begin asking, "What can I give without losing my integrity?" This shift neutralizes resentment before it forms. Preparing the mind for service also sharpens humility. We recognize that we are not the center of events, nor the final measure of importance. This does not diminish us, it steadies us. The ego's constant hunger for validation weakens when attention is directed outward, toward usefulness rather than applause. Another ancient voice warned against living as though pleasure were the goal of existence. Morning discipline reminds us that ease is not the same as fulfillment. Service demands effort, patience, and endurance, but it repays us with coherence. The mind settles when it knows what it is for. This habit also refines our response to inconvenience. When obstacles appear, we do not immediately interpret them as injustices. We see them as part of the work. Serving others or serving principle inevitably involves friction. Accepting this early prevents bitterness later. As the day progresses, this orientation becomes a quiet source of strength. We act more patiently, we listen more carefully, we endure more calmly, not because we are suppressing emotion, but because our attention has moved beyond ourselves. Emotional excess fades when purpose takes its place. Over time, this habit transforms identity. We no longer see ourselves primarily as consumers of experience, but as contributors to order. This perspective reduces envy, tempers anger, and steadies ambition. We are less concerned with how we are treated, and more concerned with how we behave. So we begin the day resolved to serve. Not impulses, not comfort, not ego, but reason, duty, and the quiet work of living well. And when the day ends, regardless of praise or neglect, we carry the satisfaction that comes from having used ourselves wisely. Habit number 9, measure yourself by effort, not emotion. As the day approaches its demands, we establish a final inner standard by which we will judge ourselves. Effort, not feeling. Emotion is volatile. It rises and falls without asking permission. If we allow it to become our measure, discipline collapses the moment enthusiasm fades. So each morning, we decide that how we feel will not determine how we act. Most people wait to feel ready before they begin. They wait for motivation, confidence, or clarity. But this waiting is a quiet form of avoidance. We remind ourselves early that readiness is not a prerequisite for action. Action is what creates readiness. By committing to effort regardless of emotional state, we deny inertia its favorite excuse. An ancient teacher observed that no great thing is created suddenly. Progress is built through repeated, often uncomfortable exertion. Morning reflection grounds us in this reality. We stop demanding that the work feel pleasant. We ask only whether we showed up fully, attentively, and with restraint. This habit is especially powerful against destructive emotions. Anger tells us to withdraw effort. Fear tells us to hesitate. Sadness tells us to stop. By measuring ourselves by effort instead of emotion, we continue forward without denying feeling and without obeying it. Emotion is acknowledged, but it is no longer in command. Another ancient voice warned that we should not be surprised when the body resists discipline. Fatigue, discomfort, and doubt are natural companions of effort. Morning commitment to effort prepares us for this resistance. We do not interpret discomfort as a signal to stop. We recognize it as evidence that something meaningful is being attempted. When effort becomes the measure, self-respect replaces mood as the reward. Even on difficult days, we can say, "I did what was required." This creates a stable form of confidence, one that does not depend on praise, success, or ease. We begin to trust ourselves not because we feel strong, but because we act reliably. This habit also protects us from self-contempt. When we judge ourselves by emotion, we feel weak for feeling weak. When we judge ourselves by effort, even a heavy heart can coexist with dignity. We stop fighting ourselves and start leading ourselves. As the day unfolds, effort-focused judgment keeps us grounded. We are less thrown off by fluctuations in mood. We do not abandon the day because it feels wrong. We complete it because it is ours to complete. This steadiness is rare and powerful. Over time, measuring life by effort reshapes identity. We become people who act regardless of comfort. This does not make us rigid. It makes us dependable to ourselves first. And from that inner reliability, outer strength grows. So we begin the day resolved not to chase motivation, but to practice effort, not to demand emotional clarity, but to commit to action. And in doing so, we reclaim authority over the one thing that cannot abandon us: our willingness to try. Habit number 10. End the morning by choosing the person you will be under pressure. Before the day gathers speed, before it tightens its grip, we make one final and deliberate choice: who we will be when things do not go our way. Pressure is inevitable. Friction is guaranteed. What is not guaranteed is character. That must be chosen consciously, early, and without ambiguity. Most people discover who they are only after pressure arrives. They react, excuse themselves, or regret their responses too late. We choose differently. In the calm of the morning, we decide in advance how we will behave when patience is tested, when pride is wounded, when effort is ignored. This advanced decision robs pressure of its power to reshape us. An ancient emperor reminded himself that the best revenge is not to be like those who wrong us. Morning reflection makes this possible. We resolve that irritation will not make us cruel, that stress will not make us dishonest, that fatigue will not make us careless. These are not hopes. They are commitments. Pressure reveals what training has prepared. Without preparation, emotion takes the lead. With preparation, principle steps forward. By choosing our conduct in advance, we shorten the distance between challenge and virtue. The moment arrives, and we already know our answer. This habit is especially powerful against destructive emotions. Anger often feels justified under pressure. Fear often feels urgent. Self-pity feels reasonable when we are tired. Morning choice exposes these emotions as temporary states, not valid authorities. We acknowledge their presence, but we deny them command. Another ancient voice warned that we become what we practice repeatedly. If we rehearse calm under imagined pressure, calm becomes familiar. If we rehearse restraint, restraint becomes accessible. Morning is rehearsal time. We visualize ourselves responding with dignity when it would be easier to collapse or retaliate. As the day unfolds, this decision quietly governs our behavior. When tension rises, we recognize the moment. This is it, we think. This is where I act as I chose. The clarity is stabilizing. We are no longer improvising under stress. We are executing a plan. This practice also strengthens self-trust. Each time we live up to the version of ourselves we chose in the morning, confidence grows. Not loud confidence, but grounded assurance. We learn that we can rely on ourselves when it matters most. Over time, pressure stops feeling like an enemy. It becomes a proving ground, a place where preparation is validated and character is refined. We stop fearing difficult moments because we know we have already met them. First in thought, then in action. So we end the morning not with hope, but with resolve. We choose who we will be when the day presses hardest. And when the evening comes, regardless of what the day demanded, we carry the quiet satisfaction of having remained faithful to that choice. Habit number 11. Anchor the day in inner review and unshakable intent. Before the day fully releases us into action, we perform one final act of consolidation. We gather everything we have prepared: control, acceptance, restraint, effort, service, and resolve, and bind them into a single intention. This is the anchor. Without it, even disciplined habits can scatter. With it, the day moves forward with coherence and inner unity. We pause and review, not with anxiety, but with clarity. We remind ourselves of the principles we have chosen to live by today. We do not overwhelm the mind with excess detail. We hold one simple command at the center: act with reason, regardless of circumstance. This command steadies everything else. An ancient teacher advised that we should not rush headlong into the day without first examining the direction of our soul. Morning review ensures that we are not merely busy, but aligned. Activity without intention is a form of drift. Intention gives effort meaning and endurance. This habit consolidates emotional discipline. When anger, fear, or desire arise later, they meet a unified inner posture rather than scattered reactions. We are not improvising morality on the fly. We are acting from a position already chosen. This coherence is what makes the inner world difficult to fracture. Another ancient voice urged us to live each day as a complete life. Morning consolidation treats the day as a whole, not as a series of disconnected moments. We begin knowing that this day, like all others, is finite, and that how we conduct ourselves within it matters deeply. This final habit also restores simplicity. We let go of excessive ambition and scattered intention. We do not try to perfect everything. We aim to be consistent, to return again and again to reasoned action. Simplicity strengthens resolve because it removes confusion. As the day unfolds, this anchored intent acts like a compass. When we feel lost, irritated, or overwhelmed, we return to it. What does reason require now? This question cuts through emotional noise and reconnects us to purpose. Over time, this practice produces an unshakable center. The mind becomes less reactive, not because life grows gentler, but because intention grows firmer. We are no longer tossed by every impression. We are oriented. This habit completes the morning discipline. It gathers preparation into action and turns philosophy into lived conduct. What began as reflection becomes movement. What began as intention becomes character. So we step into the day fully assembled, not perfect, not immune to difficulty, but whole, anchored, governed from within. And whatever the day brings, we meet it not as scattered fragments, but as a single deliberate will, steady, resilient, and awake. Dear students of Stoicism, remember this: your entire day is shaped long before the world touches you. True strength is not built in moments of pressure. It is built in the quiet discipline of your morning routine. It is built when you rise without complaint, when you guard your inner world, when you choose effort over emotion, when you decide in advance who you will be under pressure. Unbreakable self-mastery is not dramatic. It is daily. It is repetition. It is practice. Take a moment now and reflect deeply. Which of these morning habits spoke to you the most? Which principle will you begin practicing tomorrow? Share it in the comments. I will be there reading your thoughts and engaging with you. In a few days, another focused and practical Stoic lesson will be released. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next teaching. If this lesson strengthened you in any way, support the channel by liking this video and sharing it with someone who is committed to self-mastery. Thank you sincerely for your time, your attention, and your commitment to becoming a stronger, calmer, and more disciplined version of yourself. Until the next lesson, remain steady,